What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very different version of the Hockey Happy Hour live on HUDradio.com. We're live in the Real Talk Studios.
Of course.
In Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. Brian Daly, Michael Klankoff, Ryan Bretto on the ones and twos with us tonight, and we seem to be missing somebody. Did somebody forget to tell Matt that we were doing?
Where's Matt?
Where is Matt? Don't worry, guys. Matt's fine. Matt's taking a little hiatus for a little bit. He's got some stuff he's got to take care of for the next couple of weeks. So me and Mike are going to handle show duties for now.
Yeah, we got this. Absolutely. Got a lot to talk about tonight, too.
Lots to talk about. Before we get into that, Mikey, who we brought to you by?
We are brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy, located in Cherry Hill, Burlington, and Princeton, New Jersey. You can find them on their website, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. And no, I'm not doing no Matty table slam because that shit hurts your freaking hand.
Yeah, it does. It hurts my hand, and I don't even do it. All right,
Absolutely.
so lots to talk about tonight. We got new GM for the Philadelphia Flyers, and talk about that. Talk about the new NHL franchise. A little later on in the show, we're going to talk about a little trade between our two teams.
Yeah.
Nothing major.
Pretty cool how it worked out, though.
It worked out great. And we're going to recap the Flyers-Columbus game also later on in the show. So our poll question tonight is referring to the new GM here in Philadelphia. Will Chuck Fletcher help the Flyers, yes or no? So before I give my answer, Mikey, what do you think?
I'm going to go with yes. And the way that he was talking during his press conference, he talks a lot about, working in-house first. And that's one of the bigger key things that, I liked a lot hearing from him. I obviously not like too much because I'm a Penguins fan. But working in-house is definitely something that I know a lot of the fans were worried about, was that, he's going to come in and dismantle the farm system, which is, the prized possession right now of the Flyers. So, that's a big, key thing about Fletcher that, already sounds like he's working pretty good. Obviously, if things aren't working, he's going to have to mess with some parts. Obviously, some key farm system players might have to run, but, there's time to tell. Got to see what happens with the team in the next couple of weeks. Obviously, if the team stays where they are, you might see some moves happening. But other than that, I think it's a good pick. He's got a pretty solid resume. Overall, I mean, he was definitely one of the guys that we talked about the other week. So, wouldn't have been my number one choice, but I like Stevie Y a little more.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But, Fletcher he was probably number 2 on my book for them. So,
well, he was on my list for sure. And obviously, I think a lot of the people in Philadelphia agree that Stevie Y was probably the guy you wanted.
Absolutely.
Especially with his resume and the way he built the Tampa Bay Lightning into the team that they are now. Chuck Fletcher was on my list. He was in my top 5. I had a few guys ahead of him, but, his resume is good. He's got a good resume. He helped build Minnesota Wild into what they are. Some of the major acquisitions that you guys are familiar with is the 13-year deals that he gave to Ryan Sutter and Zach Parise. Some of the other ones that you might not be too aware of is he is responsible for bringing Niederreiter to Minnesota, which worked out really great for this team.
Yeah, he's a very good player.
And a very unpopular move for the Wild fan base is trading away Brent Burns. It probably was, I would say, the worst trade he's made, seeing how Brent Burns has turned into an elite defenseman who can rip the puck from the blue line. Now partnered up with Erik Karlsson on that power play it's just absolutely ridiculous. That's a move that he probably should not have made. But they did get one good piece out of that deal. They did get Charlie Coyle, who's turning himself into a nice role player for the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, he always has been. He's always been a pretty, solid player for them. So definitely a key piece.
Also got Devin Setaguchi, who
he's not there now.
I think he's out of the league now.
He was solid for a couple of years. I mean, he was another guy who's a solid role player, and
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He played well in San Jose.
Yeah,
as soon as he left San Jose, he was done.
Yeah,
His
I was
career
going to say
ended.
that's exactly where I remember him most from, was playing there.
And they also got a first-round pick in 2011 who turned out to be Zach Phillips.
Who?
Exactly. So Yeah, I mean, he's made some good moves. He's made some bad moves. Every GM's going to have good and bad moves.
Yeah.
But a little bit of past history for you guys with Chuck Fletcher. He's been in a couple GM roles, one with the Florida Panthers, and as we know, Minnesota, which is what he's really known for, and now the Philadelphia Flyers. He's also been in some advisor roles, one with my Anaheim Ducks, which I didn't even realize, and then more recently with the New Jersey Devils, which you heard if you watched the intro press conference with Chuck Fletcher that he thanked Ray Shero for the opportunity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of like his
good guy to learn off
his
of.
resume, yeah. So I'm not exactly worried. I think he can help this team.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
listen,
my answer is yes.
The thing is, though, he's not scared to go out and pay for, solid players as he's did for Ryan Suter and Zach Parise.
Right.
The only thing I didn't like with what he did was those contracts. Other than the contracts, you went out and got 2 solid players. Obviously, Zach Parise has not been where he was with the Devils because of all of his injuries. But when they got him, the first couple seasons, I mean, he knocked it out of the park. He was solid for them. Obviously, Ryan Suter is who he is. I mean, he's never changed.
He's top 10 defenseman in the league.
and it's somebody that we never talk about anymore because he's not flashy. He's a defensive defenseman. If he's going to score a goal for you, that's just a positive. I mean, he's not there to score goals, but he absolutely can. I mean, he's your shot blocking defenseman. So, I mean, that's, like I said, anything other than that is just a positive from him. And obviously his shot is, comparing it to almost a Shea Weber, like he could rock a shot. So
right. So, obviously, with this all happening within the last week, Hextall being fired and now the hiring of Chuck Fletcher, there's going to be an evaluation period here. And Chuck Fletcher has already said that he's not afraid to make a move as early as the Western Canada trip that's coming up that starts on Saturday against a road game against the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah.
So the evaluation is going to start there. And if tonight's a sign, he's going to have an easy time, replacing people. Really rough first period for the Flyers. Really rough first 2 periods for the Flyers. And who's the one guy that stepped up in the first period? The captain, the guy we always talk about, the heart and soul of this team, Claude Giroux. So I think he's one of the only people, in my opinion, that is safe on this roster.
Yeah, right now, anyway. I mean, and that was a question that we raised on the station. Is he going to be getting traded? And obviously, I mean, if you trade him, I think it would be ridiculous. He's obviously your best player on the team. He's a guy that you have to continue to build around. He's one of those guys that makes other players better. And to get rid of the centerpiece of your team, I think to me would just be a little too much, and it would be a setback because most likely what you're going to get for a caliber player like that is a couple of pieces and picks. You're not going to go out and trade him for another big-name player. I mean, that just doesn't happen.
Just real quick, we're going to switch off the hockey for a second here to announce some breaking news for the Phillies. Phillies have acquired left-handed pitcher Jose Alvarez in exchange for right-handed pitcher Luis Garcia.
You would know more.
I don't know much about Jose Alvarez, to be honest with you, but I do like giving up Luis Garcia. I mean, he's a veteran guy, but he's not that guy that really holds up. Brodo, what are you thinking?
It's not Bryce Harper.
No, it's not Bryce Harper.
True. That would have been a better deal.
But Jose Alvarez helps the bullpen.
It's not Manny Machado.
All right.
I like the game. It's not.
It starts somewhere.
It has to start
It's
somewhere.
something.
Okay.
It is something. They're being active, and I like that. But anyway, all right, so back to hockey.
Pirates won't do nothing. But, yeah.
Back to Chuck Fletcher here.
Yes. I don't know. The whole moving of Giroux would just, like I said, it would set back the franchise to
Absolutely.
me. I mean, and it's already let's use our farm system more. Then you're going to be waiting to use them more. That's the problem. I mean, it's just, I don't know. To me, I think it would be crazy for them to do something unless they're, really believe that they're all off the deep end and let's start this whole thing over.
And I don't think he's at that point. I don't think he wants to get to that point.
No.
Obviously, you never want to move your captain.
No way.
Especially with a team this young, a team that is kind of vulnerable at the moment. So that could destroy the locker room. especially if he's the one guy that's keeping them up, keeping that morale going.
Yes, sir. Let me get into a couple comments on the book. We got Tom Arnone coming in. You rip Maddie for a month. And that's rest in peace, Maddie, not just rip him. Rest in peace.
Oh, we're not going to rip him?
We could do that, too.
Oh, yes.
David Roscoe, we should. Who should the Ducks get next when they get sprung? There you go. You could answer that one.
More scoring depth. That's the one thing Anaheim is not doing well right now.
Yeah,
they need to get
listen,
some scores in
Sprong, we'll get to that trade a little bit later, but I could just say it now. Sprong definitely has the potential of being a 25-goal scorer in this league. He has a very good shot. He just never panned well with the Penguins and just never fit in. So, I mean, there's too many pieces ahead of him to be able to play with guys like Crosby or Malkin on a line like that.
Right.
So, I think that's what hurt him most.
But, yeah, I would go after scoring, Dave.
Frank Fesby says, hey, yo, sorry to bother you at work. I like the hiring, and Joe Thornton still sucks. My dad comes in. Hey, guys, how's it going?
Papa Clank
Pretty
off.
solid. What up, Pops? And he goes, hey, Mikey, 2 games in a row. I could finally come home. Yeah, they're enjoying their days while we're, it's 35 degrees here. They're in sunny Florida.
Yeah, we just
chilling
get snow yesterday.
Chilling out with Mickey Mouse. I thought I saw him come in the basement earlier, but I guess not.
That's a good one there.
Oh, man. So, press conference was yesterday. A little bit to take away from it. It was interesting to say the least. But some things to take away from. I wrote down a couple points here. He has a willingness to make necessary roster moves as early as the Western Canada trip, which I brought up earlier, which is good because maybe it'll raise the level of play for some of these younger guys, knowing that their job isn't going to be safe.
One of the bigger things that I did here too was that he's not scared to go out and go get a goalie. And right now, obviously, I mean, even if that means bringing up Hart, I mean, he's talked about that's probably their biggest need right now, aside from the defense. But he said he's not scared to go out and go and get somebody or bring up somebody to fix that need, and that seems to be the biggest problem. I mean, they were ranked 29th in goals allowed this season so far. So I mean, that's bottom of the barrel. I mean, it doesn't. It almost doesn't get any worse than that. So
No,
I mean,
it really doesn't.
It's obviously one of their biggest needs, and he's looking to address that. And like you said, with this Canada trip coming, you might be coming back home with a new goalie. So
Could be coming back home with a new goalie, a new winger, new defenseman,
somebody,
a new coach.
Listen, if you're going to
Hacksaw
step in,
and his staff is under evaluation as well.
Exactly. And if you're going to step in, I think he needs to make a splashy move to say, I'm not playing any games, and that's the thing he needs to do. But one thing I want to read something real quick. He goes, I'm a big believer in trying to get to know a situation before making a reaction here. He goes, I certainly have no intention of making a coaching change tomorrow. I am going to meet with Dave. We're going to try and work together and push. So obviously, it's a potential thing that could happen right away. I don't think it's going to, depending on how this Canada trip goes and a possible trade coming to Philadelphia. And if he does do a trade, he's got to see how it rolls, and then he could decide from there. If I'm giving you some kind of asset and you're not using it correctly, then maybe we need to move on.
Right, and since we're on the subject of roster moves and trades, one of the things he's already come out and said, he's not willing to trade the top prospects in the Flyers organization, which is a good thing for the Flyers because these are the key pieces that you're going to want to build around. Guys like Morgan Frost, Philip Meyer, you're going to want to build around these guys. And his big thing is it's similar to what Hextall was trying to do with the Flyers is build from within. And this is one of my points on here is building within with your young prospects and then going out and filling the holes with free agents, veterans, making trades for guys.
Just leaders, it just having
guys that help help them learn the game and learn the speed.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a role player. It's just a filler kind of guy. You need to have those other, like you said, the big word is veterans. You need to go out and get another veteran. I mean,
you need leaders.
All of them. The thing is, and that's the thing. All the people that lead this team, they're on the top line, and they don't move from the top line. And once you get to the second line, you have a couple more. But then after that, it's okay. I have Dale Weiss.
Yeah,
you know.
no.
So it's like,
Listen, I agree, and I'm going to use our teams as a good example. You have leaders in Pittsburgh.
yeah.
You have Kevin Letang on defense. Sidney Crosby, obviously.
Kevin's a cool name, but his
Malkin.
name's Chris. Go on with it. It's okay.
Evgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby, Patrick Hornquist.
Yeah.
Like there's guys on every
Everywhere.
line that's
Yes,
a leader.
exactly.
Phil Kessel. Anaheim has
Matt Cullen.
Matt Cullen. Anaheim has Adam Henrique, Brian Getzlaf, Patrick Eves when he's healthy. Like these guys, they have depth, and that's something the Flyers are lacking. And I've been saying this for probably about 2 years now. It's something that hurts this roster.
They've always struggled with that. And, like, I remember the times of, when they went and made that cup run. I mean, I felt like that's when they were the deepest. And obviously that's why they got there.
Right.
And ever since that time, a lot of players left. They were traded. And there's one. Giroux's the only player left from that team.
Yes.
On the roster.
Yes, he is.
So, I mean, it's just. You could see, it's obvious. There's nobody there, and it's a regaining of leadership and role players and everything else, which has set them back. And that's one thing that the Penguins have done good of, and they've kept. I mean, obviously you can't get rid of a Crosby or a Malkin, and a guy like Letang. I mean, they're the three left from I'm saying the 2009 Stanley Cup. So I mean, they're still there, which is phenomenal.
Right. I want to get to this question real quick on Facebook Live from Cameron Jones. How far will the Ducks make it into the playoffs? Personally, I think they'll be a second round out with the way they've been playing lately. They're getting good play from all the young guys. Getzlaf starting to find his groove, passing. Defense is playing a little bit more solid every day. Gibson's doing what Jonathan Gibson does. He just makes saves, and remarkable saves, keeping the team in the game despite the fact that they're not scoring goals. But They got to make a move or two to bring in some more scoring depth. And I think if they do that, they can make a deep run. But if I'm looking at the roster right now, Cameron, they're probably a second round out, and go home.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. I could definitely agree on that.
They average about 2.5 goals a game. About that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little more.
See, Gibson's good enough to make it a game with only 2.5 to 3 goals a game. So, overall, the West is so competitive this year, and their division's pretty solid as well. So it's definitely going to be a tough run for them. Do I think they can make it to a second round in playoff? Yeah, I can. They've been a lot better recently after their outstanding beginning of the season, and then that major slump that they had. It's the worst part was we were so high on our teams in the beginning of the season.
I know, and now look where we are.
Listen, the Birds went south together, and that's exactly what they did. They both slumped at the same time.
It is the winter.
Yeah, I mean, they all go south for the winter, and it's just they happened to go at the same time, and it was a shame because that's when the Flyers started getting better. So then we were making fun of Matty for the first couple of weeks, and now Matt's making fun of us. But now we've all kind of stalemated in almost the same spots.
Well, thankfully, we're stalemating. We're starting to climb a little bit out of it. We're Ducks are starting to get a little healthier. So
we're on a
that
2-game winning streak right now. Okay, that's the best since the beginning of the year. So I mean, we're getting there.
And then we have Thomas DeSanta. Who lets family into these things? Saying go Cowboys. You can disown family, right? Cousins? Is that possible?
Absolutely.
I think in this situation, I think it's appropriate.
All right, good. Cool.
Because it's not Bryce Harper. So.
No, it's not Bryce Harper.
Or Machado.
I can see Brodo when he sleeps. Bryce Harper. Manny Machado.
Right? He would.
Hold on, let me get the music. Hold on.
No. Not yet.
Ryan,
we're not there yet.
Ryan, it's time to wake up. Go to school. Bryce Harper! Manny Machado. Oh, what time?
He's here!
Ryan, honey, you got to go to school. Oh, damn it.
Somebody did say that to me this morning.
Really?
Never mind.
David Rosca says he wants Matt Duchene and Bobby Ryan to come to the Ducks in March.
Matt Duchene, okay, maybe. I could do that. I can't do Bobby Ryan.
That would be round 2, correct?
That would be round 2.
Yeah.
We do have a couple comments over on the tube.
Awesome.
So Fly Guy Vernand 441 says, I like the move to get Fletcher. We need a goalie badly. And then he says, how long do you guys think it'll take the Flyers to get back to be a legit contender?
They have that potential. It really is. I've been a hater on the defense big time, but I'm starting to make my way to the goaltenders. I mean, it's just that they have to address goaltending, and that's one thing that Fletcher has said that he's going to do, and it's something that he needs to address quickly because everybody that's been in net this year has looked awful. With
Chuck Fletcher already announcing that he's willing to make moves, and he just needs a little bit of time to reevaluate the roster and see what he has. He's going to make the moves that are necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Moves that Ron Hextall weren't willing to make.
Yeah.
Being stubborn. So, with all that being said, I could see him being a contender next year if the right moves are made.
Yeah, I mean,
you have Carter Hart that'll be up next year.
Yeah.
Because Elliott's done at the end of the year. Stoley's playing good for now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to go downhill or regress at all, but I don't see he's not going to be the starter next year.
Yeah. No way. I don't think he can, and it's just, it's the goalie carousel that we've seen for years now, and it's something that they have to address quickly. And I don't want to. I'm not saying I don't, but if I were a Flyers fan, you still don't want to bring up Hart yet. You want him to develop, and it's just right now you have to go and get a better veteran goalie than Elliott right now. And with him being inconsistent and hurt, doesn't help either. And it's just
no, not at all. But the only thing that I would ask myself if I'm in that situation, what goalies are out there that you can get as a rental?
Yeah.
Because obviously you're not going to want them for more than 1 year.
Yeah, that's the tough part. And right now I don't know goalies off the top of my head that would be a rental for this year. So
2 pop into my head, but I don't know how long their contracts are. Is Jimmy Howard's available, and maybe you take a chance on Robin Lanier again.
Yeah.
I mean he had a solid year.
He's not a bad goalie. I mean, he's been doing pretty good. A guy that they could have gone out and gotten was Halak, but Jesus Christ! Now I
Halak
just
wanted a multi-year contract,
and
so you weren't going to get him for more than what did you wind up signing in Boston for 3 years?
Yeah,
so you weren't going to get him for less than that.
Exactly, and it's just and he's doing pretty damn good there. So it's just
he doesn't have the pressure on him anymore, and I think that's the one thing that hurt his career was. Yeah, he was good enough to be that number one, but he didn't have the confidence to maintain that role.
Yeah.
So now that he's got the pressure off him being in Boston with Tuukka Rask and having really one of the best goalies in the league to
work with.
Work with, yeah, absolutely. Great way to phrase it.
Yeah.
It helps.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
It absolutely helps.
I mean, and it's just obviously we know what Boston is. They're a solid team up and down the roster. So, I mean, it's just they're, obviously what they put in front of him is going to make him better. And, your team's only as good as, whatever I was going to say there.
So, yeah, I mean, a year max. I think they'll be competitive next year with the right moves. And I think Chuck Fletcher, after the evaluation is done, he's going to make the moves that are necessary.
Yeah. Well, right now, with the way the standings look, you have to be in the top 3 to the Metro to make the playoffs right now because the other two teams
are guaranteed playoff spot anyway.
Right now, anyway, yeah. Buffalo has been a big surprise for me. I thought they were going to be better, but I didn't think they were going to be this good so quickly anyway. And Montreal was another team. Carey Price has been playing very good this year, which is the main reason why, they're up there. But also Max Domi. He's been playing great hockey lately. And, he's been a key piece as to why they're just doing so much better right now. And overall, I mean, they're another scary team. I think they'll be the one to fall off a little bit. But
what's funny is, and it's funny that you bring that up because when that trade initially happened, the Max Domi for Alex Galchenyuk, I thought that was a dumb move on Montreal's part. Like I thought it was great to get Ty Domi.
Well, because Domi's been a troublesome kind of kid in a couple years and just been inconsistent and,
And that's kind of why I thought, this is kind of a dumb move for Montreal. But it really turned out that it's
working out better for them right now.
Oh, absolutely it
yeah,
is.
there's no doubt. I mean, Galchenyuk is a great player, but you're in Arizona now. So
yeah.
you're not, you're not even in a hockey atmosphere. So
with everything going on with Fletcher and evaluating the coaching staff, do you think that Hextall remains head coach for the remainder of the year?
to the remainder of the year, man, I'll say yes. I will, and it's just being very bold of me. I 100% want to say no because I think that's how it's gonna be. But I have a feeling he's gonna ride out with him to the end of this year, and then make a change, and then make major changes to the team. I think right now he might go and get the pieces and work with what he has, and then when the offseason comes, get a couple guys, bring in a different coach, and work at it that way.
Yeah.
So, believe me, and I know the whole Philadelphia fan base is saying, we don't want him. And, it's just, to me right now, I think he's going to stay put for now. So.
All right, if you guys are just joining us, we're talking a little Chuck Fletcher, new GM, basically first day on the job for the Philadelphia Flyers tonight. Poll question being, will Chuck Fletcher help the Flyers, yes or no? Feel free to chime in. We'll talk about it. Any questions, comments, whatever. We got you guys covered.
We love the comments. Bring them in.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, go ahead, Brett.
I was going to say, I do have a question on Fletcher.
Okay.
When I saw it, okay? Now, does the signing make sense? Sure. But I go back, and obviously Fletcher has a reputation also because of his father. Because, it's not only him who has history in the NHL, but it's his father. And this, for any Flyers or Philadelphia fans, it's not going to be a good comparison. But I took comparisons to when the Sixers signed Colangelo.
Oh, no.
And you know where I'm going.
I
I'm
know
I'm not talking burners. I'm not doing that.
That's the first thing that jumped into my head.
Yeah, well, that's why I preface it by saying I know
He's going to
Philadelphia
talk
fans
shit about his team.
Well, I mean, would anything
Oh,
surprise me
God,
at this
his
point?
wife is involved now.
God.
Here we go.
But I look at it, and what's the one thing you see about Chuck Fletcher? He hasn't done what? What hasn't he done?
Win.
He hasn't won. What didn't Colangelo do to a large degree?
Win.
That's what I worry. The guy is an
it
older
is
guy.
a big concern.
It's not like he's a younger guy who only has a few years under his belt, and you can say, like, oh, well, he only has a handful of years under his belt, therefore he hasn't won. He has a long history in the NHL. So does his father. And I fear that that's a reason why they went after him. Also, apparently, he has ties to the former Blackhawks coach.
Quinville, yes, I've seen that
does.
too. Yep.
So I also worry, was this a signing of a GM?
To
It's
bring
almost
in a
like
new coach.
Like a 2-for-1. But then I see that they acquired the former assistant coach of Hackstall and they brought him on.
Yeah, Rick Wilson.
So I look at that and
you're like,
that's an immediate
like,
contradiction.
what is going on? Yeah.
That's an immediate contradiction. You fire a GM, you bring in new eyes as another GM. Reports come flying out that he has ties to another coach, and then the day later, you sign the former assistant coach, somebody who has a great relationship with from college.
Mm-hmm.
Now, could that be like, oh, we're going to give Hackstall everything as like a full trial period so he has no excuses? Or is this, okay, we're going to make him build his team?
I think it's going to be a mixture of both, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be, we're going to try him out. We're going to give him a legitimate shot. See what I think. See what we can do differently. Like, can I improve him as a head coach? But I'm also going to. You're going to see them bring the younger guys up a little bit faster. Obviously, we're not going to get to see Morgan Frost this year, being that he's back in juniors, leading the league, leading the OHL again in points.
Nice.
Why he's not on this team, not sure yet. But I think it's going to be a mixture of both. You're going to see both happen. He's going to get his trial, and then they're going to build a team and see what he does with the team.
Gotcha. Because I just look at it, and I'm like, and I understand just because you don't win somewhere doesn't mean you can't win elsewhere.
Yeah.
But for a guy who has so many years in the NHL, and for you not to have winning on your resume, I don't know. There's definitely some red flags to it.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a concern. But, again, like we said before, I mean, he's gone out and got players that were major pieces to, their success of where they were. I mean, obviously they underachieved, and 2 players aren't going to make your team. But realistically, I mean, Minnesota didn't really have anybody there prior to bringing those guys in.
Well,
they
that
had
was
a
the thing
goalie.
too. They had a goalie. They had
Backstrom.
Nicholas Backstrom.
Yep.
And they had some pieces there. They had like Brian Ralston, and they had a decent team. But from 2012 to 2018 is where you saw Chuck Fletcher at his best, because granted the team never got out of the second round, but they were in the playoffs every single year from 2012 to 2018 when he was just released. So he knows how to create a team. He knows how to make a playoff team. He knows how to make a contender.
Yeah.
It's just making sure that he's got the right coaching staff in place as well
to make it to the next step. And
Right.
and that's the biggest concern, is obviously making it to the next step, which is always kind of been a concern, with prior GMs here in Philadelphia too.
Yep.
So I mean, like I said, right away, I think he has to make a move. He needs to bring in somebody within the next 2 weeks. It doesn't matter what the trade is, but I think he has to. He has to do something. Yeah, because and that's the one thing that I love about Rutherford. Obviously, some trades have not worked out. I like Broussard, but when we gave up Ian Cole, we lost one of the best shot blocking defensemen in the league, and that is been hurting us for the last season and a half.
And to your point there is not every trade's going to work out
No,
for every team.
No, and it's what we needed was more center depth, and we got that. But another guy that's been hurt a lot, but I mean, he's got 5 goals this season, which isn't bad from your 3rd/4th line center. So I mean, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously what we're paying for him doesn't really match what his production is, but I'm okay with that, minus the fact that we gave up my boy Bones, and he's
It was my boy first.
Dude,
It was my boy first. I
he
was
is
pissed when they traded him. Oh, Nicky Bones. All right, a couple comments real quick here on Facebook. We got Michael Chromiak, our boy Chrome, chiming in. Hey, fellas, I hope Fletcher is the guy. Time will tell. I just want this team to size back to prominence again. It's going to happen, Chrome. It's going to happen.
It will.
Just let the evaluation period go through, see what he does within the next couple weeks. And
yeah, I'm telling you, there's going to be a move soon. There has to be.
And Cameron chimes back in, wants to know what we think if GMBM, General Manager Bob Murray, will make a big trade at the deadline, or will he stay quiet again?
Depends where they're at. So, I mean, I'm assuming that's your guys' GM, correct?
Yeah, Bob Murray.
Again, it all depends. I mean, if there is full potential of we can make a cup run. I mean, if you're like 8th seed playoff team and you're like, we're borderline, why give up the assets and other players if you don't see your team making that good push. But if you're rolling in hot and you're, top 4 team in the West at that point, I think you have to make a splash. I mean, you're still missing Perry, correct? Like he's not back
out
yet.
till March.
Yeah, so I mean, to have another guy in his shoes, and then when he comes back during the end of the season to make that playoff push, I mean, it only makes sense. But of course, you gotta see where they are towards the trade deadline. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Maybe go out and get a quick piece now. Obviously, Daniel Sprong being one of them. Like I said, we'll get to that later.
Yep.
I'm just excited to talk about it. But he's a guy that's going to come in and potentially be a 3rd-line scorer. I mean, I don't know where they put him, but I would figure 3rd, 4th line.
Last night he was actually on the 2nd line with Henry.
Second line, okay. So, I mean, listen, the better players he works with, the better he's going to be. So,
yeah.
And that's the type of potential that he has. Obviously, he didn't fit in well with us, but
Yeah, it was
he needed a change of scenery, and he already went out and talked shit about the Penguins organization. So that's okay.
Did he really? I missed
Yeah.
that. I missed.
He,
I know he said. He said
he finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel, is what he said when he left.
Well,
when he got
essentially,
traded.
but he said it's the first time I saw sunlight. In
That's
2
what it
months.
was. Yes.
So I mean,
I don't know if that's
over here
because
on this
he's-
side, it's gloomy just about every day.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean,
It's winter.
yeah, in Pittsburgh, you're gonna get a lot of snow. In California,
A lot of
SoCo, you're gonna
sunshine.
get a lot of sunshine.
What the irony of last night's game was, it was actually raining that night.
Yeah, it was the one of the 365 days that it rains in Anaheim.
Cameron, I think he does. Regardless, some of these young guys, yeah, they're playing well. You want to find roles for them, but we have so much surplus in certain positions that we could afford to go out and make a splash, maybe on a rental. Because I don't think there's a way we miss the playoffs this year, and you're gonna want that extra piece going into the playoffs early enough that he can get the system down and make an impact like Adam Henrique did it when we acquired him. And I want to say we acquired him in January of last year. January or February of last year. So, you all right
I'm
over there?
sorry,
Oh, I know exactly.
but I
where
need
you're
to
going.
address this real quick. Derrick Henry has 219 yards rushing on 11 carries and 4 touchdowns tonight. I'm sorry, I just saw that. I saw that it was 30-2 at the end, almost the end of the third quarter.
30-2.
I just saw that stat line and just that's absolutely insane.
Somebody's getting fired, right?
Somebody has to get fired
Like
at this point.
Like some.
Okay,
like
so
somebody
They've
has
only
to.
put up 8 points against Tennessee this year.
He had
8 points.
He had a 99-yard touchdown and a 54-yard touchdown.
Mhm.
So
All right.
the
Tell them to
99
turn
one-
Madden off. Tell them to turn Madden off.
Jesus,
Jesus.
man,
The
they're
99
playing.
was-
They're playing on like rookie mode right
Did you
now.
see the 99-yard?
Why? See, this is what I don't understand. This is a mediocre offense putting up 30 points, and the fucking Steelers only put up 16 or 21, whatever the fuck it was. I mean, they barely beat them, and they're getting their asses handed to by a team that's mediocre.
When a team's dead, a team's dead.
Oh my god! And the Jaguars just scored a touchdown.
Oh, it's about time. So anyway, yeah, I think they go out and make a splash, Cameron. He also goes on to say, also Bobby Ryan can keep his ass in Ottawa. We don't want him.
I mean, but like
I
you said-
agree.
Like you said, Bobby Ryan's a guy that's.
I agree.
He's a guy. It's like, what am I going to get out of you? Am I going to get
Anymore,
the
you're not
30
going to get anything out of him anymore. You're not going to get the 30
exactly
goal scorer anymore.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going to go. Am I going to get the 30 goal scorer? Am I going to get this washed up Bobby Ryan from South Jersey? Who am I going to get? Who am I going to get?
Not all players from South Jersey are wash-ups.
No, Johnny
Washouts.
Good. Johnny Good.
Johnny G.
Oh,
Johnny
man,
Hockey.
He is insane.
He's so
From
little.
Salem. Yeah.
Rob Pove. Hey, it's Pove. Rob saying, with Fletcher comes Johnny Q. Watch your back hack.
Dude, we're in third place now in the Metro. Just thought I'd throw it out there.
All right. Well, anyway, nobody cares. I mean, I have Derrick Henry on the bench. Kill me. That's Frank Vespi.
Oh, my God.
Who? I mean, let's be real.
I would have never started him.
All right. So a
No.
little fantasy talk before we jump into the next subject here. Who is starting Derrick Henry? Why would you start Derrick Henry?
You would this is only like dynasty league purposes if you're starting Derrick Henry.
I'm in a
There's
dynasty
just
league. I don't
no-
start Derrick Henry.
Let me
He's,
see.
he's
Guy in my league did. Let me see.
Oh my God! Yeah.
in my one league. It's
The A2D league.
47 points sitting on the bench.
Ooh. Somebody did. I mean, he's 3-10, so whoop-de-doo.
Oh.
Yeah, he's.
Well, that's not bad then. But Jesus Christ, I mean,
45.9.
that's insane. Yeah, my league nobody started him.
Yeah, I mean,
so.
he's a 39th ranked.
Nobody started him in
running
either
back
one
in
of
the
my
league.
leagues. I don't even think he's picked up in one of my leagues. I think he got dropped and nobody ever touched him again.
He'll be acclaimed this week and then
not do
do
shit.
If
nothing.
I survive the playoffs, I'll take him.
nice.
At least you made the playoffs.
little
Yeah.
bench guy.
All right, so we had
Yeah.
big news coming out of Philadelphia.
He almost had to cue to music.
Almost. He better have that music ready to go because there's going to be some point he's going to need to play it.
It's always ready.
It's oh my man.
It's here.
So big news out of Philadelphia. We also had big news coming out of the NHL Tuesday, early Tuesday, that the NHL has agreed to expand the league into Seattle, Washington. The Seattle team will be coming in 2021, 22. And they're going to have the same expansion draft, rules, everything as Vegas did a couple of years ago.
Vegas is exempt, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that they're not allowed to partake in that draft. Or they're not allowed to take players from that draft, I think is what I saw.
Not 100% sure yet. Haven't looked up all the rules.
Okay.
So the vote came unanimously Tuesday from the entire board. Ownership is going to have to wind up paying. It was originally supposed to be $650 million as an expansion fee. Yeah, that gulp was right.
I wish.
Wait, ready? It's gone up $200 million. So now they have to pay an $850 million expansion fee.
Listen, they already sold out season tickets.
They did.
So, I mean,
30,000 season tickets have been sold already.
And I can tell you now, they're not going to make an arena that big. So,
well, they're not actually making the arena. I think they're
Are they using
reconstructing
the old
the one that they're using. I
the,
think they're renovating it.
Okay, the Sonics?
I think so.
Is that-
I want to say
okay.
it's the Sonics, yeah.
The Supersonics. I
But-
wonder if they're going to be playing at that arena. That I'm not sure of yet. But.
Yeah, I mean, they have an arena set up. They could very well start not next season, but the season after. But due to the reconstruction, renovations, and all that other stuff, they decided to extend it one more year. So that way they don't have to rush anything.
Mm-hmm.
They could just take their time, make sure everything is right, make sure everything is in tip-top shape. So when September 2021-22, that first NHL preseason game for the Seattle, whatever the names are going to be, if you guys have any name recommendations, feel free to comment in.
I found a list.
Oh my God!
Oh, I'm
Look at
scared.
This guy.
I'll get to it in a moment.
You know, everything's ready to go. They know they didn't have to rush anything. Don't have to worry about, oh, maybe this set of bleachers is going to fall in or whatever.
Yeah. Rosca says the Seattle Metropolitan for the name.
I kind of like that one.
I just don't know. That's basically.
I don't know if I
the
want to call them
that's
the
the
Mets,
Seattle
though.
Mets. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's gonna rock well there.
So I have a list and the odds.
Oh my
Of-
God.
Odds?
Yes. So this is via Bovada. So the top and the odd is -105. The totems, the Seattle totems.
I like that.
Like,
you
so, like totem pole, like what?
Yeah.
I would guess
Okay.
Yeah.
close to.
That would be
Alaska.
just an absolutely weird logo, though.
Would it be like a?
Unless they decided to use like one. I don't know.
Did you guys play Crash Bandicoot
That's
when you were
what
a
I
kid?
couldn't think of the name.
Yes, the
That's
little floating guy.
Yes.
Yes, there
That's
you go.
exactly what I was thinking of. I was like, what the hell's that game?
What the hell's his name? I know his name.
One moment.
I forget what his name is.
Rudabaka.
Yes, there you go.
That guy.
Bandicoot. Talk amongst yourselves.
So a lot of people are saying that it doesn't make sense that Seattle gets the team. A lot of people think Quebec should get the team, and I don't disagree with that. But what?
Aku.
Aku.
I remember that now.
Yeah, that's not what I thought it was.
No.
Okay.
You were
anyway,
close.
I was close.
second, and the odd is +400. The Seattle Emeralds. I feel like an emerald should be like south,
Yeah.
like Atlantis.
I mean, if
Yeah.
there were.
Well, I mean, the name would be based off the colors. It'd be like the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, I guess. The Seattle Rainiers.
I don't know what
I
that
guess.
is.
Well, for Mount Rainier.
Oh, okay.
It's a mountain out there.
Okay.
Not a fan. If you have to question what it is, then it's not. You know what I mean? It's not a good name. The Seattle Sock Eyes.
The sock eyes.
It's
Okay.
a fish.
Oh, okay.
Next.
Yeah, I agree. The Seattle Kraken.
Listen, I feel like
I
I'm just.
heard that one before.
I feel like I'm just like actually creating a team and just hitting randomize like 15 times and see what logo I'm gonna get because these names suck.
It gets a little. At least I think. The Seattle Renegades
That's kind of cool.
That sounds more.
That's got a nice little.
falls off the tongue a little better.
yeah,
yeah.
I mean that sounds more intense. Like, oh shit, we got the Renegades
I don't know.
tonight.
This one won't
we don't
sound
have the
intense.
totems. I mean, come on.
If you thought that was intense, oh, wait for this one, and
Oh.
I'm being very sarcastic. The Seattle Sea Lions.
Guys, we got the Sea Lions tonight. Let's go.
It's like the Pelicans. It's like the New Orleans Pelicans.
Oh,
Like, oh, my God. The Seattle Seals. All right, what is this? The Seattle Evergreens?
Probably because there's a lot of forest up there in Washington
Those
when you're not
think
in
trees,
Seattle.
The Seattle Whales? The Seattle
No.
Cougars?
The Whales, no.
The Seattle
No, you can't with the
Eagles?
Whalers already. Yeah.
The Seattle Eagles?
No.
And
They already
finally,
got Seattle Seahawks. I mean, why would you want to have an
Don't
eagle?
copy our bird. Leave it alone. And finally, the Seattle Firebirds.
I kind of like the Firebirds. I like the Renegades.
Roscoe says the Seattle Stallions.
I mean, it rolls off the tongue, kind of good. But I don't think there's any stallions up there.
Any other options? Can you guys think of?
I don't know.
Frank
The
Vespi says
Seattle Starbucks.
I mean, there's some branding in
call-
that.
I mean, they're from there, correct?
I mean, you can call them the coffee beans if you're gonna call them Starbucks.
And here come the coffee beans.
I wonder what the
Ladies and
mascot will be.
A big Starbucks cup.
No.
Or a coffee bean holding a Starbucks cup.
All right,
for
so
5.
Frank Vespi says totems are a good name, precursor to the WHL's Thunderbirds. I kind of think the Thunderbirds could be good.
Oh, Frank has some kind of lore to this. Like, what?
Did you see his comment?
Oh my God, I just saw it.
Wow, Jesus.
He goes, the Seattle Cougars make the logo a horny old woman.
Just an old woman with a cosmopolitan or a martini glass. You know what? We're thinking about this a little too much. I agree with Frank Vespi on this comment. Whales would piss off the Canucks. They have a whale in their logo. It would piss me off because
Listen,
of the
that's-
Hartford Whalers.
But that's going to be
Oh,
their
yeah.
rival. Is going to be Seattle and Vancouver now. I mean, Vancouver finally has a rivalry. So
No, absolutely. And they already did the realignment for the divisions already. So Seattle would come into the Pacific Division, and getting the boot would be the Arizona Coyotes. And I can live with that.
Yeah. So when does that go into effect? Does that go into effect when
That will go
season-
into effect when
They
Seattle
come in.
comes into
Okay.
the league.
I wasn't
So
sure if-
21, 22.
like next season they would realign it then?
Not next season, season after.
Okay.
My question to you guys is, A, do you like that the next team goes to, went to Seattle? I'll start with that.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys like
I
I'm
think
okay with Seattle.
I'm absolutely okay with Seattle. I think it's a built city. Like you already have the Seahawks, you have the Sounders, which have taken up Storm. Which I mean, soccer to me is not big, but up there, soccer is amazing.
an
So
NBA team will go there, in my opinion, in the next 3 years?
yeah, I mean,
They're talking about putting a baseball team up in that area too. Not
The Mariners.
Seattle, obviously. They have the
Yeah.
Mariners, but Portland, they're going to
Oh.
put another potential team out there. Seattle, I'm okay with Seattle because they support their teams.
mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how good or bad. I mean, Seattle Mariners, their attendance kind of hurts, but Seahawks, they're always selling out their games.
Yep.
Mariners, when they play well enough, they sell out their games. They'll back their team.
Yeah, the problem with that, it's not even the fans' problem, or it's not their fault. It's just the Mariners now are the most irrelevant franchise in all of sports. I mean, if you look at the last time they were in the playoffs, they're at the bottom. So, you know what I mean? So, I mean, that hurts, obviously. But, and then, with the NBA as well, as far as the city, that city was crushed when they left for Oklahoma City. I mean, that did not end well at all. And
No.
there's a reason why you see not only NBA players, but teammates of a the Seahawks and other teams, that always bring back the classic Supersonics jersey. It's not because of the team, but it's because of that city.
Oh my God, that team was phenomenal there. I
Yeah.
mean, think about it. You had a guy like Ray Allen.
Yep.
And you go out and draft
Sean
a Kevin.
Kemp.
Yeah, and you go out there and get a Kevin Durant. I mean, you draft Kevin Durant and plays, I think, only one season, if I'm not mistaken,
In Seattle?
in Seattle,
Yeah.
and
then
then
moves to
moves
Oklahoma.
to Oklahoma.
I believe so.
And that, I mean, you imagine, like, you're a fan of Seattle. You have a franchise top 5 player in the league on your team, then they ship out to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Where
it's Oklahoma freaking Homa.
there's
know what
nothing
I'm
there
saying?
but tornadoes and dirt. So,
Yeah.
I mean, why?
Yeah.
That's why they got the name the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean.
And that's the
Yeah.
other thing about if you name the Seattle team, you got to name it relevant to something about the city.
Yeah, rain.
The Seattle
The
downpour.
Seattle slippery roads or something. I don't know.
The Seattle Slippers.
Yeah.
Sludge, the Seattle sludge. Sludgy up there.
I got to ask my man out in Seattle what he would think.
And my next part of the question is, if it wasn't going to be Seattle, name a couple cities that you wish would have gotten it. Like,
Obviously, Quebec.
yeah,
Quebec
that's
is
that's
one.
always the go-to.
I would be okay with a couple different cities in Canada just to kind of not push the sport up north more, but just to.
Well, it's just their love for the game. I mean, it's just that they're going to have a fan base.
Well, it's not
You
even
know.
that either. It's you want to even it out. There's 32 teams now in the NHL. How many are in Canada?
Was there 5, 6,
7.
7? No, that was close. Now we got to count.
7 or 8.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Look it up to get the
But
exact
that's-
number, but
That's I think the exact number is 8.
yeah.
But that's less than half the league.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I understand where you're going. I like that. I think a wild card for me would be one of the Dakotas.
Listen,
as crazy as it sounds,
Dakota would be
but
good.
Yeah.
North Dakota would be
they
good.
love hockey too. I mean, they're always great for college. They're always into Frozen Four.
North Dakota they're great.
They're awesome, and they're like I said, they're another state that loves hockey. Like they would be a wild card for me to have a team in one of the Dakotas. And to me, another team, that would probably, other than a place in Canada, I would say if they were to do America, I would say probably a Dakota.
No, it would be North Dakota if you do either
Yeah.
one of them.
What about a place just because they don't have any other sports up there? What about like Maine?
No, because
Well,
there's
they have a
not
pretty-
lot of people there.
Well, they do have a really good hockey team up there where my favorite player of all time got to play. And they do have a little bit of a hockey town up there. They could probably pull it off.
Yeah, but I'm only figuring because I have family in Maine, and when we went to go visit them, it was like so remote. It was weird. It was a culture shock for me. I mean, you have to go into the city to go do your laundry. I mean, it's like it was obviously they had like where we were there was no washer and dryer. There was no air conditioning in our cabin.
Some,
So,
Jesus.
it
good
was
options here.
95 degrees in Maine. It never gets that hot in Maine.
Couple good options here from Frank Vespi, which I agree with. Quebec, I think we can all agree with that.
Yep.
I like that.
Saskatchewan, he said, is a good one. I mean, I don't know much about that area. I mean,
Nova Scotia.
yeah. He also says Halifax. I like Halifax. I think that could be a good place. Red Deer, I think, could be a good city to have a hockey team. And then Hamilton.
London.
I'll go.
London would be a good one, too.
I'll go big on you. What about Alaska?
That's too far.
Yeah, that's a
I think
a
that's
hike.
I think that's the only problem in why you won't see a team in probably what would be Anchorage.
Yeah.
It's just because it's so far. I mean, you imagine a team like Tampa Bay having to fly from Tampa Bay to Alaska for a game. That's
Yeah, it
pretty
wouldn't
rough.
be pretty.
You
No,
know, I
not
mean,
at all.
I mean, I could imagine what that flight would be, but after jet lag and all that, it's probably close to a 10-hour flight. I mean,
Yeah.
that's that would be pretty rough. I
yeah.
I
because
would-
if you
I
think
think
about it.
You're going
You're
north.
going
and
north
west.
north
and you're
and
going
west.
up west.
Yeah. So I mean,
It's true.
yeah. So I mean, I think Alaska. I mean, they have the Alaskan Aces up there from the ECHL Hockey League. So I mean, they have teams up there. Do I think NHL teams should be there? No. To me, I think it's too far. It would be too much for NHL teams to think of a schedule to
Well,
get
here's
teams up there. I mean, the West Coast teams are fine to manage with that, but you got Boston, you got Tampa Bay, all those East
something
Coast
to think
teams.
about. I don't know how true this is, but apparently, if you go to the westernmost point of Alaska, like
Oh,
the
you can see
absolute
Russia.
right, you can
Yeah.
see Russia from that point.
You could probably
It
skate
goes
across.
to show you how much further away it is
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
I think who's the most western point team? Well, now it would be Seattle.
Probably
I think Vancouver. Yeah.
Yeah, I went up there back in '06.
Mhm.
It's like it's a different world up there. It's a completely different world up
Ice
there.
roads and
Well, no, it's not even that. Like, I thought it was going to be complete snow on. It's not even about the weather up there. It's just different. It
Yeah,
just doesn't
well,
seem like you're on the same planet.
it's a whole. It literally is a whole different culture. I mean, it's a one of the most northern parts of Canada, really, if you look at it, and it's just there. I mean, it's the biggest state in our country, and people
Yep.
don't realize that. And it's just there's so much land. Like I said, it's just a culture thing. It's just obviously we're used to a metro where it's like, holy shit, we have neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
There, it's like
It's very.
our neighbor's 5 miles away. You know.
True.
So
Just a couple comments real quick here from Frank Vespi after saying Halifax. American cities, he throws out Kansas City. I don't think the baseball team doesn't do very well there. Chiefs do okay, but it's a football
Chiefs
city.
don't do well in the playoffs, and I kind of hope that happens again this year.
He also says Maine's too small. They got the Mariners of the ECHL.
I just think population-wise, Maine wouldn't work out too well.
I don't think so. I mean, I think it could.
Maybe I don't know.
It's a
like
college town.
New
It's a
Hampshire,
college.
New Hampshire. I mean, they've.
It's a couple teams up
But
there.
again, I mean, I feel like if you're not by the city, you're done because there's nobody
Yeah.
there. You know.
David Roska says Seattle Metropolitan is the name of the team. For the team, they won the 1917 Stanley Cup Championship. Frank Vespi, Houston is not a bad option as well. Largest market without an NHL team.
I'm against NHL
But
teams going
the
south
Yeah.
like that.
Well, there's already
That's
Dallas.
like
and-
super
Yeah.
south too.
Yeah.
Well, they got Corpus Christi
He go.
down there with the Sharks.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's right on the
Yeah. in there.
Rio Grande.
So.
Frank Vespi, they tried to relocate the Blues to Saskatchewan in '83 because of the
Oh, shit, I
Checker
didn't know
Dome
that.
being too old. He also goes on. Alaska is also expensive to live there as well. The Aces relocated to Maine, oddly enough.
Well, okay. So there is no team in Alaska.
Not
I was
anymore.
gonna take away everything I
Not
said.
anymore.
But
I mean, we could probably come up with a list of different places, but it should definitely be north of the border.
yeah.
I think adding another team in America is
You know what,
great and
though?
all, but
I like the location though. Like I said, Seattle is a city that loves their sports teams, and I think that it's a good spot. Was I ready for another expansion team? No.
you knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming, but I wanted to help a franchise that's in need before adding to an NHL.
All right, real quick. We're getting ready to take a break here real quick. So I have a question for you that was brought to my attention on Facebook. Do you think because of all these expansions, the league is getting a little too watered down? I don't.
No.
I like it because it's
Well,
going to spread out more talent,
It's definitely going to spread out more talent. It's going to be able to bring more talent up, which gives
more players
more
opportunity.
opportunities. It does scare me though. Obviously when we lost Fleury, our goaltending issues went downhill. So I mean, you have the potential of losing a key player that could be extremely beneficial to you. Other than that, I am with you on that. I mean, you give opportunities to players that wouldn't have a chance. And just overall, I mean, you're also spreading out a league, despite, like I said, you got teams and franchises that have attendance problems already, and are teams that probably should have been thought about being moved before adding to something already. So
Okay. Because I agree with you.
yeah,
To be completely honest with you. All right, so that's going to wrap up this first segment here on the Hockey Happy Hour. We are going to jump off Facebook Live, but don't worry, we're coming back on YouTube. So anybody on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook Live, come on over to YouTube, join us. We'll continue this conversation. On the other side, we're going to bring up the trade between the Penguins and the Ducks, and we're going to recap a little bit of the Flyers' loss tonight to Columbus in overtime. This has been brought to you by Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can call them at 856-889-3434, or you can go to www.scanzanosportscenter.com. Join us on the other side, guys. We're going to be right back. Hi. Sorry, I missed it. Welcome back to the Hockey Happy Hour here on A2DRadio.com. We are live in Mount Ephraim at the A2D Real Talk Studios.
There's a reason why this music's up.
Oh, I'm sure there is. There's always a reason why this music is up.
Some things happened.
Yes. Which we will not talk about.
Yeah, we can't talk about that.
But
What we can talk about is who this segment is brought to us by.
and it is brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy, located in Cherry Hill, Burlington, Princeton, New Jersey. And their website is specializedphysicaltherapy.com.
Nice, he did it.
Gentle.
I can't do it. My hand hurts.
It was funny how he used my notebook, too.
Well, it was the only open spot on the table.
All right, so if you're just joining us here, you missed a lot, to be honest with you. We had talked about new GM, Chuck Fletcher, and being with the Philadelphia Flyers, expectations from him, reactions, all that stuff. So we talked about that. We talked about the new expansion team from Seattle.
I think it's going to work well. I do. I mean, I like the city. I think it's a good city that they picked. If they were to tell me something else, like Kansas City, like what Vespi brought up, I don't really like the location of Kansas City. I don't know how much I even like the St. Louis Blues being in St. Louis. I mean, it just anything in that area just doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, it's funny. I was actually going to – St. Louis was going to be the one team. I'm like, oh, what if they put a hockey – oh, wait.
You forgot that they're a team.
Yes.
I know. I always forget that St. Louis does have a hockey team. I always know the Blues, but I don't ever – oh, yeah, that's right. They're St.
You can always put another team in Minnesota, too.
It wouldn't hurt. I mean, you gotta market in big hockey towns. I mean, and that's the thing.
That's where it's going to pay big time.
Listen, where kids and fans are just built on hockey is where you gotta go. I mean, anywhere by the border, Montana might work out. Who knows?
Montana.
I mean,
Ain't much in
forget
Montana,
that's a
brother.
state. No.
Ain't much in Montana, bro.
They basically have three teams very, very close to each other on the East Coast. I mean, you have the two New York teams and you have the Devils.
Yeah.
And then you still have the Flyers and Capitals who are within a couple hours.
But, I
bus
mean,
ride.
you got to look at the population, too.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean,
I
it's just-
understand it. I understand it.
Yeah.
But when you, like you said, when you guys talk about hardcore hockey cities or states, it makes sense to go to like a Minnesota. There's other cities with that.
Absolutely.
So you missed all that.
Jinx, you owe me a soda.
How's the water? A half drink
That
of
works.
water.
I mean, that works. I don't drink
All right,
soda
cool.
anyway.
So, we're going to go with a couple scores here real quick, give you a little update on what's going on around the NHL. And we're going to start with some of the finals tonight. As most of you already know, Philadelphia Flyers lost in overtime today at a final score of 4-3 to the Columbus Blue Jackets after coming back.
Yeah,
from
Travis
a 3-1
Samheim scored 2 goals in a row to tie the game up, but obviously wasn't good enough to,
having a little
win the
bit
game.
having a little struggle earlier on in the year. Another game going to overtime tonight was the Red Wings and the Maple Leafs. Red Wings coming out on top.
I'll take that.
5-4.
I'll take that. That's a good win for the Red Wings.
Colorado Avalanche beat the Florida Panthers today by a final score of 5-2. Pittsburgh Penguins coming up with a huge victory against the New York Islanders, 6-2.
Mm-hmm.
Canadians continuing their good play against the Ottawa Senators, beating them by a final score of 5-2. The Lightning edged the Boston Bruins tonight by a final score of 3-2. Active games we have the Calgary Flames up 2-0 earlier in the third period against the Minnesota
They
Wild.
put up a 9 spot the other night.
They did.
That was a high scoring of 15 goals in that game, 9-6.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Capitals and Coyotes are tied up right now midway through the third period, of score of 2-2.
Coyotes were just up 2-0.
Midway through the second period, Vancouver Canucks are currently beating the Nashville Predators by a score of 2-1. Chicago Blackhawks are trailing midway through the second period to the Golden Knights by a score of 2-1. A lot of low-scoring games.
That game was just 2-0 as well, I believe.
And the Devils and the Kings are about 4 minutes left in the first period, tied up at 1 apiece. And that is your update.
Love it.
Yeah, so a lot going on tonight. A lot of high scores, a
Yeah.
lot of low scores, a couple
Yeah,
upsets.
Definitely the other night there was a lot of high-scoring games. I mean, overall, just like I said, 15 goals in that just one game, and a lot of it came from that first line with Monahan, Gaudreau, and Elias Lindholm.
Yep.
So, I mean, they absolutely killed it.
Calgary absolutely won that trade.
Oh,
get Elias Lindholm and Noah Hanifin
Yeah.
from Carolina. So we did mention earlier that the Flyers lost today by a final score of 4-3 in overtime. Overall, thought the Flyers didn't play their best. Played better in the third period
Yeah, I mean,
than they
came
did
out
at any
strong.
point.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, Sanheim getting 2 goals. But here's my issue with the game tonight. First period, they came out fairly strong. Had a goal by Claude Giroux early in the game. Had a goal taken off the board by, I want to say it was, who was it? It was a goal taken off the board.
I missed it myself, to be honest.
But I forget what it was. But they lost the challenge. The goal was taken off the board. And that kind of crushed the Flyers' momentum a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely didn't help them at all. You know, I mean, it does that to every team, and that's usually when the other team comes back and scores a goal on you.
Right. Turnovers hurt. Flyers in the first 2 periods, and I'm not usually a stickler about this, 11 shots through 2 periods.
Yeah.
I've always been the guy who preaches it's not always about the number of shots, it's about the quality of shots. They had some really good quality shots. They had plenty of opportunities.
But 11 shots is not going to win you a game.
No, it's not. Couturier had an opportunity in the early. I would say it was early in the third period when they were on a power play. Had a wide open net and missed it. So they blew that. It's just they just did not play well. Earlier on in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of sloppy play is what led them to eventually losing this game. But you know, just
bad turnovers.
Yeah, at bad times too. I mean, and just they had a chance. I mean, they came back, tied it up. Obviously, they still come out with a point. So I mean, you got to look at the positive. They were down 3-1 going into the third period, and come back and grab a point.
No, agreed. I mean, you walk away. You got to walk away with a point. You got to be somewhat happy about that.
Yeah.
Now, the one main player I wanted to talk about is Travis Sanheim, a guy who's gone 32 games without a goal until tonight. The one thing he started to do again was getting involved and coming up in the play. Something he did last year, something he did really well, and it turned into goals for him.
Yeah.
Well, 32 games later, stopped doing that. And
until tonight, obviously.
So what's he do? Gets back into play, starts coming up with the rush, and Voracek finds him for a really nice game-tying goal. And I want to say it was Giroux who set him up in the first one. So to highlight that is huge because he's a guy who's been struggling. He's one of the guys that the Flyers need to step up and be that guy that's
exactly. He was one of those youth pieces that were supposed to come up and be, you know, not the biggest star, but a solid role player.
Right, a solid role player, a top 4 guy who has a wicked slap shot from the point. He just needs to unleash it a little bit more. He
hasn't really found that yet. I mean, obviously 2 goals tonight is tremendous for him. So
it's a way to build the confidence.
Exactly.
In a young player like that.
And like you said, he's gone goalless in 32 games. So it's a confidence booster, and that's exactly what it's going to do. So
yeah, and that's what the Flyers need. They need these guys to step up and get this confidence going because they got to start winning more games here. They got.
Yeah. Oh, they have to. There's no other choice.
They got a winner. They're going to get shipped out.
Listen, right now, like I brought up before, the Penguins are in 3rd place in the Metro right now at 29 points, whereas the Flyers have 25 and are in 7th. So, I mean, it's a 2-game difference right there. I mean, and, obviously right now, the Flyers will have the upper hand.
Who's in second?
Yeah, no, I didn't realize that too. The Flyers have the upper hand on the Penguins too, obviously getting that win on Saturday. Which was
the win tonight or the loss tonight for the Flyers drops them down to 9th in the wild card. That's what I'm looking at here. With 25 points, only 5 points behind Detroit, 7 points behind Boston, who's in that second wild card spot. So there's still plenty. Obviously, there's still plenty of time. It's only early December.
There's listen. I don't really think there's anything to worry about right now. I mean, like I said, considering that the Metro is so close, it's not much of a worry. If our teams right now were playing in the Atlantic, we might have to worry. We might have to hit that panic button a little early because those teams are I think the top 3 teams have almost 40 points already. So, I
About
mean,
that.
like I said, Columbus right now is in 3rd place in that division, and that's barely. So,
Yeah, and Flyers have 3 games in hand on just about every team. They're one of 3 or 4 teams that I thought I saw
yeah.
that only have 26 games. Boston in that second wild card spot, 28 games, 2 games there. Montreal has 29. That's 3 games there. That's a potential 6 points that could put the Flyers right into that second spot. If granted, if they win them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's 3-game span is it's a difference maker. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So especially come playoff time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know. I think the Metros, although their numbers don't say it, but it's going to be competitive right down to the end. I mean, all the teams this year have been subpar. I mean, they've been, okay. I mean, you expect a team like the Capitals to be blowing it out of the water. I was really high on Columbus going into this season. And obviously they're winning the division right now, so
You're not getting great play out of Holtby either with Washington.
no, which is fine. I mean, I absolutely
I'll
love
take it.
Yes,
I'll take it
100%,
because
yeah.
you know what? Sunday night, Anaheim was down 5-1 going about halfway
Yeah.
through the game.
Mm-hmm.
Came back and won the game 6-5. So I'll take it.
Yeah, I thank you.
You're welcome. Hey.
Thanks.
Yes.
We work together.
We help each other out.
Speaking of working
Bird
together, you want to get into that trade?
Yeah, let's talk about that trade real quick. Well, hopefully for more than a few minutes. There's a trade the other day between the Anaheim Ducks and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Coming to Anaheim is I shouldn't say highly talented, but very talented sniper in Daniel Sprong.
Yeah.
Heading to Pittsburgh is defenseman Marcus Pettersson, something that
The
Penguins needed. Something that Anaheim needed was scoring depth.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was yesterday? Yesterday was Wednesday. So, Wednesday night, Anaheim plays with the first game with Daniel Sprong. Gets a goal in his first shot.
Bastard.
Good job there. Something that Anaheim needed desperately was depth scoring. This, like you were saying earlier, in the minors, put up 31 points or 31 goals.
Yeah.
31 goals in the minors. Putting up 6 or 7 goals in preseason?
I believe so. I want to say it was like 6 or 7 goals, and I was like, yeah, man, like he's finally going to make the roster. He's a guy that I've been watching since we drafted him in 15, I think it was when he was drafted.
I think he's like about 24.
Yeah, so I think I'm pretty sure that was the year he got drafted. He was a second-round pick because we didn't have a first-round that year. And is a guy that I've been looking out. I mean, when he was in juniors, he was phenomenal. Again, AHL, he lit it up last season. He's always had a shot, and that's something that, won't go away for him. It's just that he never found his way to the roster, and when he did get on the roster, he didn't shine the way that they expected him to shine, and with all of his
kind of underachieved.
He underachieved in all the games that he's played in Pittsburgh. So I was upset to let him go, but at the same time, a need for us was a defensive defenseman, and that's what Pettersson is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's young. You said he's 22, correct? Or 24?
He's about 20. He's between 22 and 24.
Yeah. So
He's young.
We were both trading youth players, which is fine. And, like I said, it's something that we needed. And right now, thinking about it, if, Schultz ends up coming back this season, we'll be pretty solid at defense now. I mean, we have a guy in Ricola who's a guy that shined in preseason as well, and he came up in the NHL, and he's been playing pretty damn good. I mean, for a defenseman to be scoring 4 or 5 goals in preseason is phenomenal. So, obviously, we bit the bait on that one and brought him up. Got to play a couple games this season, but obviously having Letang, Olimata is a guy that could, is on the hot seat for the Penguins right now. He wasn't playing as well in the beginning of the season. But Dumoulin, we have Alexiak, who's obviously a giant, and he's our main guy defensively right now.
As he should be. He's the definition of what a shutdown defenseman should be.
Yeah, I mean, he's 6'7" guy. He's our fighter. Just a guy that's going to lay down a hit and change the momentum of the game. So, and just all the other guys that are there, and Jack Johnson. I was excited for him this season, but Jesus Christ, that 3.2 annually right now is just not looking good.
Nah.
You're looking at about a 1.4 for him right now because he's just not playing well.
Well, the one good thing is, real quick, because Brian Brodo's giving me a little bit of a look here, like he's got something to say.
There's a couple comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
We do got it.
I'm okay with giving up Pedersen. We have a huge surplus of defensemen.
Yeah.
Not exactly okay with giving up the youth, but, considering that, Fowler's hurt, Lindholm was hurt. I think he came back. I think he played last night. But, we need the scoring depth. So in order to get the scoring depth, we need to give up something of surplus. And something of surplus right now we have is defensemen. All the guys I want to see that are, ready to come up are up.
Yeah.
Jacob Larson's on the roster now. He's playing well. Brandon Montour is kind of the leader right now of the defensive core, along with Josh Manson. So, I'm good with it.
Yeah, so, I mean, and that's the thing that the Penguins have been pretty solid on. I mean, their bottom 6 forwards there's plenty of them. And, one thing that Mike Sullivan has always done well is bringing a guy up and fitting them right into a system. I mean, we've seen that with Sherry, with Gensel, Dominic Simone. I mean, he's getting there. This is his second season, his first full season though. So, I mean, we'll see what he could do. I mean, and just even if you're not working on the first lines with Crosby, you're working on the third and fourth line with Derek Brassard, who is potentially a first line center somewhere else, and Matt Cullen, who obviously the name just says enough. He'll teach you there. So, but I'm fine with it, and I'm happy it's a piece. It's a good trade for both sides. And,
Absolutely.
I have a lot of good things to say about Sprong. I hope he's successful with Anaheim. I have no problem with Anaheim.
Same with Pedersen.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, like I said, it's a trade that's worked both ways and is going to benefit both teams. So.
Well, the one thing that, I liked out of seeing from Sprong on Wednesday night is his breakaway speed.
Yeah.
He's a fast little skater.
Yeah, he's good. His defensive issues, two-way, he needs to work on that. But
yeah, that's something Randy Carlisle is good at, is
Yeah.
teaching players how to play two-way hockey.
yeah, so I mean, obviously his offensive skill is out of this world. So
Yeah.
I mean, definitely I would not worry about offensive skill.
Okay.
So
Let's jump to these comments on YouTube.
So
yeah, go ahead. No, go. You got it. You got it.
VHS Queen says, "Let's go Flyers." From Washington, glad to get some games in town. Diehard sports town that ignored hockey only because they didn't have an NHL team. Then we have David Roska saying, "On my NHL 17 game, the Coyotes are in the 2017 Western Conference Finals against the Wild 4-0 in the second period." He's giving us an update on his video game, so I appreciate that, Dave.
Nice.
Thanks, Dave.
He also says, "Who should the Ducks get at the trade deadline, in your opinion?"
Scoring depth. Nobody specific, but they need to get guys that can score.
And then Frank says, "So when is Brodo going to pull a Vespi and show the YouTube world that jersey?" I guess he's talking about that.
The Guinness jersey.
I
from,
forgot all about that one.
3 months ago.
Yeah. I don't have an answer for you, Frank.
Well, he's not wearing it tonight. so-
Yeah, no, I'm not at all.
He's actually in
I don't
his
think anybody wants to
golf
ever-
uniform and ready to go shoot some tees after this broadcast.
There's nothing wrong with that. I would do that.
If it was a little bit warmer, I'd think about it.
Yeah, they got heaters.
I was going to say, don't they have heaters there?
Yeah, they got heaters.
I've only been there once,
I haven't been there yet.
I've been there once.
I went there and it was cold as hell, but they had heaters. So as long as you're sitting where they're pointing, you're fine.
Yeah. I went out there in July, so it was
Oh,
the exact opposite of cold.
Yes, you didn't have to worry about that.
But yeah, I mean, I like the trade. Like the comments. VHS Queen brings up a valid point. They've ignored Seattle for a long time.
And they always have. And obviously, I think it put a hole in their heart when the Sonics left Seattle, and it's just they were looking for that other team.
And that's when the Mariners are.
Yeah. I mean, they played all right this year, surprisingly, but not where they needed to be.
Yeah.
Obviously, things have changed on our roster recently, but we're not a baseball show, and we'll stick to the one more minute of talking of hockey while we got it. And, yeah, But I really do. I like Seattle of all places. Like I said, I mean, I'm gonna keep repeating it.
I'm
for the
okay with
next
Seattle. I got no issues with
3
it.
years that we
No.
gotta wait now.
It's a nice city. I was out there, so I liked it a lot.
Never been.
Yeah, I've never
like to.
never
Cool.
been any more west than I guess Tennessee is more west than Pittsburgh. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I would go to
Nashville
Seattle
is
if I could.
beautiful, by the way. Just throwing that out there. I would love to catch a game in Nashville. So
That's
Mr.
what I'm saying.
Vespi
If,
can get you in on that one.
Kenny,
Yeah, he's been out there
nice.
ooh,
many a time.
I
He's a
know
fan
who-
of it.
Yeah, now I know who to talk to.
Mr. Vespi, if you're still listening,
If you're still listening,
you'll
and
have
you
2
can
phone calls.
get me get me some tickets.
Yes.
Especially when Anaheim goes there next year.
Oh, yeah.
Pittsburgh goes there in March, I think.
Oh,
So,
well.
I
Road
might-
trip.
We were. I was actually thinking about flying out there and
Hockey happy hour road trip.
yeah, I'm cool with that.
All right. Sounds good. We'll make
Let's
a
do
plan
it.
of it. All right, that's going to do it here for the Hockey Happy Hour. Little bit of
Aw.
a sad music here. You know, we missed Maddie today, and we're going to miss him for the next few weeks, but, you know, we're still here for you guys. And with that being said, the Hockey Happy Hour tonight was brought to you by Gibson Mayer, LLC, your certified public accountants. Tax time is coming up. We're not far away from it.
Mm.
So, call Gibson Mayer. They are located at 301 Oxford Valley Road in Yardley, PA. You can call them at 215-369-3300. Like I said, tax time's coming. Be ready, be prepared, get Gibson Mayer. We will be back next Wednesday night, as always, for Mikey Klankoff, Ryan Brotto behind the board. For myself, I'm Brian Daly. We will see you guys next week here on A2DRadio.com.
Deuces.